Hello, my name is Pascal Borry, and in this presentation I will give you some information about the decision tree that is being used within the ethics review of master dissertations within a group of biomedical sciences. Every student that is performing a master dissertation within our group has to answer some questions within a decision tree. Based on the answers that you give to this question, an evaluation will be made about the type of research that you are doing, and you will be invited to submit an application to the Research Ethics Committee directly or through mediation of the OBC, or to the Animal Ethics Committee or to the Ethics Committee CARE. In some cases, of course, you will have an automatic approval and you can start immediately with your research, and we'll explain the different possibilities in a moment. If your research consists exclusively of a literature review, it's of course very clear that you don't need an ethics approval for that. Therefore, when you answer yes to this question, your research project will automatically be approved and you can start immediately with your work. If you are doing in vitro laboratory research and you want to make use of commercially derived cell lines like the HeLa cells, for example, you don't need ethics approval for that. And if you describe your study in this way, saying yes to this question, you will get an automatic approval and you will not have to submit an ethics approval or an ethics protocol. In case you are using animals or you want to use animals or specifically animal-derived materials, you will have to submit a research protocol to the Animal Ethics Committee. If you answer here yes to this question, you will get automatically an invitation to do so and more details about the procedure for doing so. In the next step, you will get some more general questions and you should answer at least yes to one of those questions. So the first potential question, you are doing research with living persons. This means patients, healthy volunteers, the general public. Or you are doing research with human biological material, blood, tissue, body parts, cadavers. Or finally, you are using data for your research, whether they are anonymous, coded, or directly identifiable. So based on what you answer, you will again get following questions. First of all, it might be that your research fits within a broader perspective. Your supervisor might have asked already for an ethics approval for a larger study, and it might be that your study has already been approved by the Research Ethics Committee or the Social and Societal Ethics Committees, called SMEC, or the Ethics Committee CARE. It might also be that you want to do an amendment of an existing project. In both cases, you will need the number of approval of your study. You will need within the system to give the correct number of the study in which you want to continue to work. If you do an amendment, if you want to adapt an existing project, you will need, together with your supervisor, to contact this committee again and explain what changes you want to do on this project. And you will need approval from this committee again before you can start doing your research. In case you are using human cadavers donated for scientific research, you will have to submit your research project to the Ethics Committee CARE, Zorg in Dutch, who is in charge of evaluating this kind of project. In case you want to make use of publicly available data, this means datasets that are somewhere on a website online or publicly available data, for example, from websites, or you are using a complete anonymous data set, you don't need an ethics approval for that. I want to make very clear that anonymous data is really data that is completely anonymous. This means that students that, for example, are analyzing patient files, are extracting some material from patient files and anonymize at a later stage, are not using anonymous data. They are using personal data and they only anonymize in a later stage. As well, students that are using or having access to coded datasets, but where the supervisors maintain the access to the code, to the key, are not using anonymous data, because it's very easy here to go back again to the original patient file, for example. So very clearly, be very cautious on this question. Anonymous data is truly anonymous data. Then the following 3 questions are questions that will lead to, if you answer yes to one of these 3 questions, will lead you to submit an application to the Research Ethics Committee of UZ and KU Leuven. So if you are, for example, collaborating with an external company, or if you are doing medically related interventions or actions, or using human body material, in those circumstances, you will have to submit an application to the Research Ethics Committee. Just to clarify, what are medically related interventions? Well, for example, this is the use of medical imaging. This is the use of drugs that are being provided to patients or research participants. This is the use of medical devices. These are kind of functional tests, surgical interventions. All these kind of interventions, for this you need an ethics approval. And of course, the use of human bodily material. This is the use of tissue, blood, urine, all kinds of other materials. For that, you need an approval from the Research Ethics Committee. So if you answer yes to one of these 3 questions, you will receive an invitation to submit to that committee. In case you are retrospectively analyzing personal data and data that you might de-identify in a further stage, anonymize or code, in that case you will need a Research Ethics Committee approval, but through the OBC. OBC will handle this project together with the Research Ethics Committee. So typically projects within this framework are students that are analyzing patient files and are extracting specific types of information in the framework of the topic they are analyzing. Then quite a lot of students are prospectively collecting material, for example, through social science interventions, for example, doing interviews, doing questionnaire studies, discrete choice experiments, and so on, mystery shopping. All these kind of interventions will be handled by the Research Ethics Committee, but through the OBC. Then interventions or actions we do not come under the heading of medically related interventions. We think here of cognitive tests, language tests, movement tests, and sports sciences, for example. And finally, interventions that evaluate implementation or the quality of interventions, mainly in clinical practice. Those will all be evaluated by the Research Ethics Committee through OBC. And finally, if we missed any type of research, this will as well be handled by the Ethics Committee UZKU Leuven through the OBC. So, finally, if you would have any question on the type of research that you do about filling in this decision tree, please send an email to obc@kuleuven.be or have a look at our website, where we have as well a clear explanation about these different questions. Good luck with your master dissertation.